Happy Saturday, everybody. Every Saturday, I go and play on the best one ladder with a deck that you guys vote for here on YouTube. And this week, it was a close battle. The Teamwork Control pile that was well over 60 cards was in second place by the end of the poll on Friday. And Orzhov Discard took the lead. So every Sunday, you guys can see the showcases that I do for the Meta Breakers and place your vote. So look for that tomorrow. And but this week, what we've got going on here is a deck that's kind of centered around the Nurturing Pixie. So Nurturing Pixie, when it enters the battlefield, you can return a non-fairy, non-land permanent back to your hand. And then it gets a +1/+1 counter on the Pixie if you do so. And so we have a lot of interesting ETBs centered around discard. Excuse me. So discard is naturally going to help against the control matchups, being able to attack their hands. So we have the Hopeless Nightmare. Each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. Really great target to bounce. We've got the Tiny Bones Joins Up, also another one that causes our opponent to discard on ETB. We've also got the Skullcap Snail and the Virus Beetle, which we could bounce. And then we've also got the Hostile Investigator, that when it enters the battlefield, an opponent discards a card. And then whenever a player discards one or more cards, you get a clue token. So this one can also work with additional discard. And then we've got Liliana the Veil, which is, I think, our last one that also triggers a discard on the uptick. So lots of ways to attack on their hand, and then afterwards too, these make pretty good useful things to sacrifice for Rite of Oblivion. So we can sacrifice a non-land permanent to be able to exile target non-land permanent with Rite of Oblivion. Then it has flashbacks, we can do it again. Pretty good for the Hopeless Nightmare, which then if it gets sacrificed, you get a Scry 2. And then we've got Fortune Loyal Steed, which can help us with these ETBs, being able to blink them back into play. Works pretty well, especially because of the low saddle cost of 1. Also helps us scry into additional threats. Lauren of the Third Path gives us an ETB that we can bounce with the Nurturing Pixie or with the Fortune Loyal Steed that attacks artifacts or enchantments. And then we've got Sarah Paragon, which is just a one-of to replay some of our lower end of the curve, being able to play anything with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. And then we've got Wandering Emperor, which is just, until it rotates out in August, we're going to be seeing Wandering Emperor. It's 2 removals in 1 card, life gain, and also token creation. And then we've also got Sorin the Mirthless. So Planeswalkers being the primary way that this game is actually, this deck is actually going to close out. And the 2/3 lifelinker giving you some stabilization against the early pressure of mono red. And then we've got Aklazot's Deepest Betrayal, which again gives us some more stabilization with the 4/4 the lifelink. And then it also discards whenever an opponent discards you. Whenever it attacks, your opponent discards. And then if they discard a land, you get a 1/1 token with flying. And then it's a really recurring threat. Shieldred allows us to attack our opponent's board. So each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature or planeswalker when it enters the battlefield, is a 4/5 menace. And then you can exile it into the True Scriptures, which then you destroy a creature or planeswalker, and then each opponent discards 3 cards and mills 3 cards, which with I guess that there's even more discard there. And then you put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. So that's one win condition as well. And then we've got Virtue of Persistence, which really is in here for the stabilization of the -3/-3 to gain 2 life and to help us against mono red. So notably, we don't have the cut downs, we don't have the go for the throats, which makes it a little bit worse because we have to rely on the sorcery speed. So it's a little bit worse against the mono red prowess deck. But still doing some interesting stuff. And then as far as the lands go, nothing really to remark on here. We've got the Aganjo and Takanuma, which are going to rotate out in August. But we've got the 3 copies of the Concealed Courtyard that we got in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, 3 copies of the Restless Fortress, which is another way that we can kind of win the game out against control, as we can lean a little bit into our man lands. 3 copies of the Demolition Field allow us to attack the man lands of our opponents, which... if we've made them discard their entire hand, sometimes the only thing that they can do is attack us with a man land. And then this was... these are a couple of cards that were being explored as alternatives. So we've got like Bitter Triumph, Deep Cavern Bat, Gix Yawgmoth Praetor. I don't really like Gix if we're not going to be running more copies of the Deep Cavern Bat, just because usually you want more evasive threats on your 1-drop and your 2-drop. And remember that Nurturing Pixie, you can play it out as a 1/1 flyer, but it's doing so much more in this deck, you don't usually want to do that. Elspeth Resplendent can give us some lifelink, which would be some nice stabilization. Rush of Dread ups the tempo. So one of the things that's really nice about the Orzhov mid-range space is that it can really fluctuate between a very aggressive build, like the one that I did earlier this week, that was leaning on the Doorkeeper Thrall and the Bone Brute, and Rush of Dread just being able to attack our opponent's hand, but also their life total. And then Gisa the Hellraiser is a classic one in the mono black crime space. I don't think this deck really needs a Gisa. Every time that you're making a target opponent discard a card, then it's a crime. But if it says like each opponent discards a card, then it's not a crime. So keep that in mind, that the wording is particularly important. So if you did want to lean into like the Gisa the Hellraiser, you would want to lean towards the Skullcap Snails instead of the Virus Beetles. And then we do also have the Harvester of Misery, which we saw as a one of in, I think it was the Esper mid-range deck, or maybe it was the Golgari mid-range deck, but it gives you a tool against Boros Convoke, which is quite common on the best of one ladder. So I'm going to showcase a couple games and give you guys a sense of how the deck is kind of operating, and hope you enjoy. All right, opponent is going first here. We've got Demolition Fields, which can be a little bit awkward because we don't have the black. We've got Nurturing Pixie, which again, we don't really want to play on turn 1. So this doesn't have any black mana until turn 3. And that's if we do the Demolition Field to blow something up. So I think I'm going to mulligan this one. This is better. Now we have white and black. We've got the discard and discard again with some removal. Probably put Shieldred back. Seems okay. Now, we don't need to do this turn 1 and take a damage. We can, I guess, if we wanted to. Drew the Swamp, though, so no reason. I was just going to play the Shattered Sanctum out and play this on turn 2. This allows us to do Rite of Oblivion and sacrifice the Hopeless Nightmare if we want to. And our opponent over here played an Overgrown Farmland, so this could be Celestia Enchantments. Oh, they discarded a land, okay. So Jukai Naturalist is one of those cards. Generally against Celestia Enchantments, you want to remove your opponent's plays early. And Liliana of the Veil here is going to be sacrificing instead. So Hopeless Nightmare is good. I don't think we need more land, so I'm going to keep the Nightmare. We can play the Sanctum out, play Lily next turn. And then the following turn, we can go for removing a card. Seems okay. And we need 5 lands for activating the Restless Fortress, which we can do with what we have in hand already. So they probably play the thing that can copy Ossification. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The Lord, enchanted creature gets +1/+1. They could play Calyx this turn as well. The other thing, too, is that we can play the Hopeless Nightmare as another good thing to target for the Rite of Oblivion. And Celestia Enchantments does struggle against early interaction. Okay, Kami of Transience, nice. So we could do Liliana of the Veil, gets rid of Kami. The problem is Kami comes back. Still, I think controlling the board is what we want to be doing.
Enough with the mysteries. I've come for
Could go for attacking their hand with Lily and uptick it. Discard like the Caves of Kolios. But I think next turn what we're going to do is play the Restless Fortress and the Hopeless Nightmare and ditch the Caves. Okay, Spirited Companion's fine. If Spirited Companion dies, I think I want to keep the Mirrex over the caves. I think colorless is fine with the fixing we have. So if this dies, they get the Kami back. So I think I'm just going to keep the Spirited Companion alive here. They did discard land 3, and they're getting punished for it because they're stuck on 2. Now this is likely to get an actual card out of our opponent's hand.
We all have things we'd rather forget.
And when they play a real threat, we can do the Rite of Oblivion. We can also get rid of the Kami with Rite of Oblivion. The longer this game goes, the more favored we are. I'm not planning on doing the Rite of Oblivion on the 1/1. I'll just let Lily get down-ticked once here, so we can play our tap land, play out the Hopeless Nightmare. Now, if they have a way to plus the damage on Spirited Companion, then Lily's gonna die. And there's the card that I was thinking of. Weaver of Harmony was what I thought they were going to play instead of the Kami of Transience. So if they play Audacity here, then Liliana the Veil's dead. Okay.
A delay, nothing more.
Okay, so now we can Restless Fortress and create a 1/4. It's not great, and Audacity going to the graveyard draws a card, so if we Rite of Oblivion, they do get an additional card, which isn't great either. I do think that that's what I'm going to do, though, is just Rite of Oblivion, sacrifice the Nightmare to Scry. It gets them back the Kami of Transience, which is not great. But we've got a lot of lands. Guess I could exile the Audacity. Okay, definitely don't want that. Don't want the Nurturing Pixie now that I don't have anything to bounce. It's not ideal. Guess I could have played the Demolition Field. I think Mirrex and Demolition Field are about the same there. And if they just play out Kami here, I feel pretty good. I'm gonna look for a land. Okay. Jukai Naturalist. Dang, okay. So we need to draw into something other than land. Well. Razor Verge Thicket thins their deck. Could Demolition Field makes it less likely that I'll draw land, less likely that they'll draw land. But we're getting kind of flooded here. So I guess I'm just gonna make the fortress into a creature and block. What's going on here? This does ping them for 2 and gain 2. Okay, so this is where we need like a board wipe, like Gix's command, which this deck is not running. So I think we've lost this first match, unless we even if we draw into Shielder, that doesn't feel great. No, way too many lands drawn. Our ratio is 3 cards to... What's the ratio of lands to non-lands right now? 3 to 9? GG. I guess I could blow something up there, but that doesn't feel Doesn't feel great. Yeah, is there any card that I could draw that brings us back into this game? Virtue of Persistence. If we draw it soon, we could get rid of the Naturalist before it's out of range. If I get to 10 mana, I guess I could Shieldred. Aclazotz could maybe be stabilizing. Guess I could eat the Spirited Companion here and take 8. Because we're dead, and we're dead if we just draw another land, right? Skrelv makes it so they have an unblockable next turn. So if they hit Mashikos, then we're just dead. Catilda is a problem. I need a board wipe that I don't have. So I could Demolition Field here end of turn to make it less likely that I'm going to draw a land. And we can get rid of one of theirs. It gives them another land though, so if they have a 1-drop, I guess they could like get access to an instant. Celestia enchantments, other than the Commune with Spirits, I don't think is running anything that's going to be a problem for. And we still drew a land. Alrighty. What was it 10 lands to 3 cards? Okay. Alright, we're going first. We've got Virus Beetles that we can play on turn 2 if we play the Shattered Sanctum into Gonjo. This one can come in untapped then to set us up for playing Hostile Investigator. Attacks the hand reasonably well. Doesn't have the turn 1 play of making them discard, but we wouldn't have the untapped land anyway. And blue-red Cacophony Scamp. So this is going to be you're late to the game. Hopeless Nightmare. That's still okay, though. We can go... Actually, maybe I shouldn't have played the Agonjo. Could have kept the Agonjo up to mess with my opponent's hand, because if they are playing the Slickshot Prowess, then Agonjo can be a really nice answer to that. And we've got a Swift Spear. Let's see if they've got a Monstrous Rage to keep it alive. They do. Guess I could have just taken that. Good news is it's going to be a really quick game. So we make them do a double discard here. And then I've got Rite of Oblivion. And I mean, Prowess does need a hand typically. So I think I'm going to go for no blocks this turn. If they have something to pump the Scamp, though, could be problematic. Like another Monstrous Rage or an Antagonize. Yeah. Okay. Down to 8. And they have no hand. Okay. Well, this puts us in an interesting situation, because this comes down, doesn't get us anything if their hand is empty, but it shuts down the board well enough. We've got the Rite of Oblivion, which I could do, and trigger a Scry. We both have Trample, though, so I kind of want to get... I think I want to hope this is going to prevent them from being able to attack me. And I do think I'll leave back the Beetle. See if they top deck removal. This is only going to be blocking 1, but like hitting them for 1 doesn't feel really important here. Damn, they got something. Hopefully that kills the Swift Spear. If they have like a Monstrous Rage, it won't. So maybe I'm supposed to multiple block the Swift Spear, and then... because this way it has to get +2, which even a Monstrous Rage wouldn't do, right? And then Cacophony Scamp, if they can pump this for 2, we're dead. So maybe it's better to go here, prevent the double strike, and then we can plan on Rite of Oblivion on the Swift Spear. Alright, final choice. Okay. Hexproof is not indestructible. We're at 2 life. Really need that Orzhov manland right now. I guess I'll keep the Virus Beetle back. Okay. We just have to have them hit like a land, and then we can start gaining 2 life a turn. I think I will keep that. They draw a shock, we just die. When this dies, create a 1/1 rat creature token. If I wait, I can exile it. If I block here, then I have to... let's see, if I block here and then I exile the... I don't have a thing to sacrifice. And so then the 1/1 might end up killing me. So I think I'm going to take the 1 damage this turn. And then play the Restless Fortress. Attack here, and then Rite of Oblivion, because it exiles. And then pray that they don't find 1 damage. Might as well attack with it, since we're going to sack it. Okay. Please draw land. You're kidding me! Okay, we have the technology. So we have the Tiny Bones into Nurturing Pixie to play the Tiny Bones again, and then we have removal or into Lily. This looks like a really good hand. And it looks like opponent is on Temur Landfall. Okay. I think this should be a decent deck. I think we'll be able to disrupt our opponent well enough here. I don't really want to mill them. Rite of Oblivion. Okay, so we're going to take a damage here to play the Nurturing Pixie. Bounce the Tiny Bones. Replay the Tiny Bones. Now, I did set myself up for a little bit of an awkward turn. They don't have green, though. That's nice. Because I didn't set myself up for Lily here. And there's nothing for me to remove. It's a little bit of an awkward turn because of the tap land. And then we've got Fortune Loyal Steed, which can do some interesting graveyard loops. Let's see, and then we've got Lily. I think I do want a Lily here and make them discard. Let's see, Loyal Steed gives me a Scry, and then I can start saddling it with the Nurturing Pixie, which then can start making them discard a card each turn. So it might be right to go here. Lily's kind of tempting, though. But what would we discard? We could discard the Rite of Oblivion, because we're not going to need that for a little bit. It has the flashback value anyway. A couple of different ways we could go here. So I think I'm going to attack with the Nurturing Pixie first. Doesn't look like they have a Fires of Victory. Could also do the Wandering Emperor and just stay mana efficient. Start creating 2/2s. End of their turn. Save this for drawing a land. So they do have a potential counter spell up. They could have a cancel. Guess I will play the Wandering Emperor and stay less immediate discard though. That lets them go get green, which is probably what they're stuck on.
We must
Okay.
protect the people.
Now, next turn they could be doing a board wipe. I think making them discard 2 cards is kind of appealing here. I don't think that the ill-timed explosion hits. I don't think the ill-timed explosion is going to hit Planeswalkers.
This is my home, and I don't appreciate it when people don't overthink things.
Again, we can play the Rite of Oblivion from the graveyard.
Guards, to me.
There's the ill-timed explosion. Deals X damage to each creature. So maybe I should have upticked with the Wandering Emperor there, anticipating the ill-timed explosion. We're gonna be able to get their last card though. Do I need the? Let's see. With the land, I guess I'm just throwing the Virtue of Persistence here. Seems right. The Milk Knight might actually help them. Okay. Virus Beetle gets their card, so does the Hopeless Nightmare. We can saddle with the Virus Beetle. And then that gets 2 cards. The Hopeless Nightmare feels meh at this point. Virus Beetle, I think, works enough with the Steed to keep it. Uptick here. And then...
Remember your training.
I guess I don't need to throw it away. I could give my own Loyal Steed -3/-3, gain 2 life. And then that way I'm hellbent.
I'm tired of your secrets.
Okay, Memory Deluge. We're gonna make them discard a good chunk of their hand here. And let's see, they've got 6 mana, so they don't have either of these. Okay, they have no hand.
We all have things we'd rather forget.
I think I just go for cycling the Nightmare. I lose the +1/+1 counter, and I don't need to do the ETB to make them discard, so I'm not going to saddle. This double check it's not a sorcery.
Keep
Okay.
watch for intruders.
And then next turn we can Lily to hit their lands so that they don't even have lands to play. And they're pretty locked out of the game. All right. Hostile Investigator seems good enough. Sure. Okay, so let's down tick here. Ah, they're gone. What I was gonna do is I'm gonna give them the 4 lands and then the 3 forests. So if they wanted to keep green, they had to go down to just 3 forests, and that was gonna be pretty awesome. So this deck destroys control. Okay. So we have Virus Beetle on 2. On 3, we play the Pixie, replay the Virus Beetle, make them discard again. And then we've got Lily if we find black. Alternatively, on turn 3, we could do the Lily. I could just play Nurturing Pixie, Virus Beetle into Lily on 3. I think I like getting the discard value out of the Nurturing Pixie. Although we could trade it just for the Recruitment Officer. Because I don't have the ability to play Lily, unless I'm playing it off of the black on the Merrick's, I think I will just play this out to block the Recruitment Officer. I could definitely see that being wrong. Don't want to play Merrick's yet because we need the double pit black for Lily. Discard Brutal Cathar, okay. Okay, we've got their board pretty well answered. I guess Lily here, since we have their board pretty well answered, probably should make them discard. And then, like, what do we discard? Rite of Oblivion? We make them sacrifice, but I think they actually get stronger with sacrificing.
About the raid. Drop it.
And I think I'd rather go for Hostile Investigator. So they can swing at Lily here. Dang. All right. I was hopefully trying to get the Knight Errant of Eos. Okay. Perfect. So we get both cards in their hand. So this is the board that we have to deal with. Seems acceptable. We play Merrick's out, play the Hostile Investigator first, and then uptick with Lily, discarding the Nurturing Pixie. That way we get the extra clue token.
Don't overthink things.
We're still on defense for sure. Let's see what you top deck. Copper Court Vanguard. Hey, that's a pretty good top deck. That means Lily's gonna die, right? Not sure this deck has enough sauce. Oh, this only triggers once per turn, so it didn't matter off of the Lily. I could eat the Lunarch Veteran, but like I said, I think this actually gets stronger in that situation. We're probably going to do Rite of Oblivion on the Coppercoat Vanguard. Feels like we should just trade, but if I trade my whole board and I'm just doing removal, we need to hit a black source for Acklazons to stabilize. Still feels like this is okay. Feels like removing the lifelink is good. And then I could remove the 1/1. I think just trading 1 for 1 is fine. That's the whole point of this deck, right? Okay. And okay, Wandering Emperor, but we can't cast it. That's awesome. They don't have any dig though, so we're gonna take 5 damage. I think that's okay. Because they can't Recruitment Officer until they hit 4 lands. This whole board is answered as soon as we find a single black source. Da 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 da. What you gonna do now, punk? Okay. Can't play the Wandering Emperor. This blocks their board pretty well, so I think we just play out the Hostile Investigator here, swing with the Acklazons. Tiny Bones joins up. We want to get the Tiny Bones down before we play the Wandering Emperor. Okay, they're one step closer to being able to do this. Yeah, this deck just feels mean. Now we're going to start creating some Myrics that can attack. Gain some life. Almost forgot to create the Might token. Their last card gives me a Clue token. We could create the Restless Fortress and start attacking. I don't feel like we need to do that yet. Let's keep drawing cards with our Acklazons. Create some Mites here. We can also draw. Surprised they held onto the land instead of playing it out so they could start triggering their Recruitment Officer. That was definitely a mistake. But, mono white down. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. I hope that gave you enough to kind of get a sense of what the deck is doing. The first game was a little bit of a flood, didn't really, you know, it was just bad luck when you draw that many lands, that many cards. But the mono red, the aggro, feels like a tough matchup for it, and it is really designed to prey on control. So being better against Azorius control in the Temur Landfall, where you just take your opponent's resources. So notably, some of the Orzhov decks that are doing this kind of thing also include Tithing Blade so that you can have a bounce thing to continuously make your opponent sacrifice a creature. Not sure whether or not it's actually necessary, because I do think that the targeting the hand is the more important part. And then also notably, I think that this deck is a little bit weak to the Boros Convoke strategy. Usually discard is weak to mono red and to Boros Convoke. Just because they can get enough threats down. And then we're not really including like a Path of Peril or any form of sweeper, because it would hurt our hand with our little nurturing pixies and virus beetles and such too much. So the deck, I think, has it. It has its place in the meta, but it's definitely not going to be like a tier 1 deck. And we are seeing some other, we're seeing some more explorations in the best of 3 space that don't translate necessarily particularly well to best of 1 because of the prevalence of mono red. So definitely a fun place to play around in, though, and I do think that Orzhov midrange is here. Orzhov in some form, be it midrange or aggro, is definitely going to be a deck I'm going to continue to explore as we get closer to rotation. Yeah, so hope you enjoy this sort of thing. I enjoy doing it, and again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the daily Magic the Gathering content, but that's the goal. We'll see how close I get. I'll be posting my Arena Open later this week, and just some decks if I get around to them here and there. Again, on Sunday, I'll be doing a whole nother showcase for you guys to vote on your favorite deck that you want to see on these Saturday gameplay videos. And on Monday, I'll be doing my best of 1, best of 3 meta review. So take care, everybody. Good luck crushing your matches and climbing the ladder. And take care.